Hello everyone, welcome to another Think Social video. In this video, we will be discussing long answer PYQs for Plus One Sociology. First question, write the difference between common sense knowledge and sociological imagination. This is a 4-marker question. So we make sure that we differentiate common sense knowledge and sociological imagination along with giving an example in 4 points. Common sense knowledge is based on naturalistic explanations and everyday observations. It is unverified, taken for granted, and influenced by stereotypes. It is also focused on individual situations without linking them to broader social patterns. An example of a situation that is understood through common sense knowledge would be homelessness, how it is seen through a commonsensical lens. Sociological imagination, on the other hand, is a systematic and critical approach to understanding society. Relies on systematic research, evidence, and objective analysis. It also helps individuals see the connection between personal experiences and social forces. Here again, we bring in the example of the same situation, that is homelessness, when looked at through the sociological lens. So, here we kind of put forth the example to help prove our point further. Explain the unique features of welfare state identified by A.R. Desai. The main three features are: a welfare state is a positive state. It is an interventionist state. It designs and implements social policies. The welfare state is also a democratic state. It have formal democratic institutions and multi-party elections. A welfare state also involves a mixed economy where both private and state enterprises coexist. So there is state sector concentrating on basic goods and social infrastructure, whereas the private industry dominates the consumer goods sector. These are the major features of welfare state as identified by A.R. Desai. Illustrate the following concepts: power and authority. It's a 4-marker question, so we describe power and authority for 2 marks each. Power is the ability of individuals or groups to carry out their will even when opposed by others. Another important feature of power is that it is always held in relation to others. Authority is that form of power which is accepted as legitimate, that is, right and just. It is, in other words, institutionalized power. People accept the power of those in authority as their control is considered fair and justified. Write a short note on the following: normative culture and cognitive culture. Normative culture refers to rules of conduct. It consists of all the folkways, customs, laws, and rules and values that guide our social behavior in different contexts. An example would be the idea that we do not open other people's letters. That is part of the normative culture. Cognitive culture, on the other part, refers to the way we give meaning to all the information that we see or hear from our surroundings. In literate societies, books and documents mainly carry these ideas that are part of the cognitive culture. In non literate societies, these are orally transmitted as legends and lores. Write any 2 types of interviews and explain. 2 types of interviews are structured and unstructured interviews. In a structured interview, interview follow a predetermined set of questions and it is asked in a fixed order. And these questions are asked to all respondents to ensure uniformity, and it is always used in surveys or job interviews. Unstructured interview is flexible format where the interviewer does not follow a strict set of questions. It allows for open-ended responses, and an example would be interviews taking place during participant observation methods. Illustrate the following rules of marriage: exogamy and endogamy. Here we'll have to give the definitions of both these kinds of marriage. So, endogamy requires an individual to marry within a culturally defined group of which he or she is already a member. Exogamy requires the individual to marry outside of his or her own group, and we give examples to each. An example of endogamy would be caste endogamy that is practiced in India, and exogamy's example would be village exogamy or gotra exogamy that is practiced in India as well. Next question is to compare functionalist and conflict view on family. It is a 6-marker question, so make sure that you explain it. According to functionalists, family maintains social stability, teaches shared values and norms, emphasizes traditional roles, provides financial support and stability, and also is a key institution in strengthening social order and cooperation. And it was Talcott Parsons and Emily Durkheim that talked about the functionalist view on family. And the conflict theorist would say that family reinforces inequality and the socialization also reinforces class divisions. And it highlights how gender roles contribute to patriarchy and oppression, and wealth and property remain concentrated within certain families, and this is passed on. And family functions as a tool to maintain dominance of privileged groups. Theorists would be Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. Write any three features of bureaucracy and explain it. This again is a 6 marker question. So, bureaucratic authority is characterized by 5 features: functioning of officials, hierarchical ordering of positions, reliance on written document, office management, and conduct in office. We take the first 3 points and explain them further. Functioning of officials. So, in a bureaucracy, officials have fixed areas of official jurisdiction and hierarchical ordering of positions. The authority and office are placed on a graded hierarchy, and there is a scope for appeal. Reliance on written document. Management of a bureaucratic organization is carried out on the basis of written documents which are preserved. So make sure you explain the point further according to the marks. Type different reasons of social change. What is social change? Social change refers to the changes that are very significant, which alters the underlying structure of an object or situation over a period of time, according to a definition by Anthony Giddens. There could be internal and external sources or reasons for social change, and the major causes are environmental, technological and economic, political, and cultural. In environmental, it is the changes in nature, ecology, and physical environment that brings about social change. An example would be natural disasters bringing in irreversible changes in the society. It is a destructive example, but another good example would be of discovery of oil and gold, how it transformed several societies. Technology and economy. The greatest example is industrial revolution itself. Discovery of steam engine had a very big social impact. The technological innovations along with specific economic contexts have caused several changes. Changes in economic organization has also affected the society and changed it by increasing the demand for labor, etc. Political forces, especially warfare, have social impact. Indian independence movement as a political event led to redistribution of power, and it has had an impact on the Indian society. Universal adult franchise is another example of a political event that has changed the society forever. Cultural changes include changes in ideas, values, and beliefs. An example would be religion, how religion has brought about several changes. The idea of the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism, how the Protestant ethic encouraged the spirit of capitalism. And also, another example is how the evolution of ideas about women's position in society, also the idea of history of sports, how all those cultural things also caused several very deep and significant changes in the society. Next question has 2 parts. A. Define socialization, and B. Explain different agencies of socialization. Since this is an 8 marker, we will have to explain how these different agencies have their place in socializing an individual. So first we define socialization as the process by which we learn to become members of society. We can explain this definition further, and coming to the next part of the question, what are the agencies of socialization? We have family, peer groups, school, and mass media. They will have to choose each of these agencies and describe how or what part do they play in socialization in detail for 8 marks. Different types of social groups. This is again another 8 marker questions. Different types of social groups are primary and secondary social groups, in groups and out groups, reference group, and peer groups. These are the type of groups that is mentioned in your textbook. What are primary and secondary social groups? Primary groups are small groups of people connected by intimate and face to face association and cooperation. Secondary groups are relatively large in size, they maintain formal and impersonal relationships. Also, add other features of these groups: in groups and out groups. A sense of belonging is there, which marks an in group, and there is a feeling of us. An outgroup, on the other hand, is the one to which the members of an in-group do not belong, the feeling of them. Reference group is the groups whose lifestyles are emulated. And peer group is a kind of primary group only, usually formed between individuals who are either of similar age or who are in the common professional group. Describe the major environmental problems globally recognized. This is another 8-marker question. The major environmental problems are resource depletion, pollution, global warming, genetically modified organisms, natural and man made environmental disasters. Resource depletion is the using up of non renewable natural resources. It also includes the depletion and destruction of water and land, depletion of groundwater levels, and also destruction of biodiversity habitats. Pollution includes air pollution caused by emissions from industries and vehicles, also indoor pollution from cooking fires. Water pollution, the sources being domestic sewage, industrial effluents, and runoff from farms, it affects the surface water as well as the groundwater. Noise pollution, the sources being vehicle horns, construction work, and amplified loudspeakers. Global warming is caused when particular gases like methane and carbon monoxide traps sun's heat, leading to a rise in the global temperature. It leads to climate change, melting of glaciers, rising of sea level, and submerging of low-lying coastal areas, which again creates an ecological imbalance. There are genetically modified crops, and this genetic modification has an effect on the people who eat those foods and also the ecological system at large, but it is not known or talked about much. Natural and man made environmental disasters, an example would be Bhopal gas tragedy, which happened in 1984. The importance of village studies in the history of Indian sociology. The village as a site of research offered many advantages to Indian sociology. It offered eyewitness accounts of the rapid social change that was taking place in the Indian countryside as the newly independent nation began a program of planned development. It provided an opportunity to illustrate the importance of ethnographic research methods. The study of villages helped sociologists understand the social structure, traditions, and changes occurring in rural India, and thus it provided a new role for a discipline like sociology in the context of an independent nation. These studies remain significant in understanding rural transformations, shaping developmental policies, and contributing to Indian sociological research. Question again has two parts. First part, what is social control? And B, what are the two types of social control? Social control refers to the various means used by a society to bring its unruly members back into line. In a functionalist perspective, it refers to the use of force to regulate the behavior of the individual and groups, and it also refers to enforcing of values and patterns for maintaining social order. According to conflict theorists, social control is a mechanism to impose the social control of dominant social classes on the rest of the society. Now, what are the two types of social control? Social control can be informal or formal. When it is codified, systematic, and there is a formal mechanism of control used, it is known as formal social control. There are agencies and mechanism of formal social control. They are law and the state. Informal social control is personal, unofficial, and uncodified. They include smiles, making faces, body language, etc. And agencies of informal social control are family, religion, kinship, etc. Mention the difference between monogamy and polygamy. Monogamy restricts the individual to one spouse at a time. At any given time, a man can have only one wife and a woman can have only one husband. It is common in most modern societies and legally enforced in many countries. Polygamy, on the other hand, denotes marriage to more than one mate at one time. It takes the following forms. It could be polygyny, where there is one husband with two or more wives, or polyandry, where there is one wife with two or more husbands. It is practiced in some traditional and religious communities, but restricted or illegal in many places. The next question is to write the difference and similarities between sociology and history and sociology and economics. Sociology and history. Historians study the past while sociologists are interested in the contemporary or recent past. Historians delineate the actual events to establish how things happened, while sociology focuses on the causal relationships. History studies concrete details, whereas sociology tries to abstract from the concrete reality to generalize and categorize. Only sociologists used to study the less glamorous events in history before, but today history has become far more sociological and it is social history. Sociology and economics. Economics is the study of production and distribution of goods and services, and it is a focused and coherent discipline. It has its focus on the interrelations of pure economic variables such as price, demand, and supply. Sociological approach actually looks at economic behavior in a broader context of social norms, values, and practices. Sociology, unlike economics, does not provide technical solutions but encourages a questioning and critical perspective. Write a short note on survey methods in research. This is a 5 marker question. Survey is the best known sociological method. It tries to provide an overview of the whole question in mind. Information obtained from a carefully chosen representative set of people who are referred to as respondents. A survey is often done by large teams. There are questionnaires that are prepared and are used to respond to answers directly or via mail or telephone. What is an advantage of a survey? It allows us to generalize results for a large population, and all subgroups in the population are recognized and represented. The disadvantage is that there is a lack of depth of coverage in a survey. Explain the mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Both of these are concepts of Emile Durkheim in his work Division of Labor in Society. Mechanical solidarity is associated with primitive society. There is a similarity of members, and it often happens in small populations, and they are not tolerant of differences, and thus they have repressive laws. They are a collection of self sufficient groups. Where does organic solidarity occur? Organic solidarity is a function of modern society where there is heterogeneity of members in a large population, and they celebrate and allow differences, and thus there are restitutive laws. Each constituent group or unit is not self sufficient, therefore, interdependence is the essence of organic solidarity. Explain the major changes introduced by technology and economy. It is a 6 marker question. Now, we know that technology can help us to resist, control, adapt to, or harness nature in different ways. We also learned how the technological change brought about by Industrial Revolution massively and immediately brought about several visible social changes. Discovery of steam power was an important technological innovation that actually brought a large scale social change. Railroad enabled the westward expansion of industry and trade. Steamships changed the dynamics of international trade and migration and affected the economy, society, cultural, and demographic dimensions of the world society. Another example is how market forces and imperial power play together, and the new spinning and weaving machines actually destroyed the handloom industry of the Indian subcontinent. So, these are examples of how technology and economy combined together can bring major social changes. Now, let's look at how custom duties or tariffs by WTO can actually lead to entire industries and occupations being wiped out, and thus modernization as a process is actually driven by technological innovation and a changing market. Next question we are discussing is explain the intellectual ideas that helped to the origin and development of sociology. What are the intellectual ideas? Scientific revolution. The theories of natural evolution by Charles Darwin actually compared society with the living organisms. The Enlightenment, European intellectual movement of the late 17th and 18th century, brought about rationalization to the center front and human agency at the center of society. Industrial revolution again caused urbanization and the problems of social inequality and brought about a new class structure. This actually also led to the development of sociology. And again, French Revolution, another political incident that introduced the ideas of democracy, individual rights, and social equality. So there was the idea that methods of natural sciences can be extended to the study of human affairs, and also the idea that human phenomena can be classified and measured. This led to the origin and development of sociology as a discipline of society. Thank you, everyone. See you again in another Think Social video, and all the best for your exam.